Okay, this first story may catch you by surprise because it did to me.
Right.
And it has to do with the Florida school shooting gunman. We know he is still alive. He is in custody. He is still on suicide watch. His name is Nicholas Cruz. We're going to mention it that one time, and we don't have to mention it again during the story. But just to remind you guys, yes, check. Young girls, young women, I should say, because they are girls. Young women are somehow attracted to this person so much that he is getting fan mail.
That is crazy.
Delivered to him. He has not seen it. He is on suicide watch, and officials say he has not seen these letters. But we know that $800 in donations have also been sent his way.
For what?
Girls have been sending sexually explicit photos and videos of themselves addressed to him. Excuse me, messages and photos, not videos. How could they send videos? Decorated fan mail.
Yeah.
Some are saying there are smiley faces, a wax stamped heart. At the seal. What is going on? What do we think the intrigue is, if we can find it within ourselves to even think about what this could be for, for the gunman?
I'm sorry, I can't even answer that because I just don't understand what the intrigue could possibly be. But here's my thing. How are we raising young women these days that they feel comfortable expressing themselves to this man in a sexual way? That should not be okay. You should understand this is not the type of man you would want to be with. There is something mentally wrong with that man. And there might be something wrong with you if you think that this is okay.
Right.
Is all I'm saying.
Right. I mean, what a shocker, right? I mean, what
It's
an absolute...
disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. And you can go as far as saying that. And there's no way for rational people to ever understand this line of thinking. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, if you think the way that most people think, it will never make sense to you. However, I will say that this is not uncommon. There are a lot of inmates on death row, which is where he may end up, that have fans. And men and women send all sorts of things to them. And they tried looking at this one time, remember, because this kept happening with Ted Bundy. And he was someone that killed a number of people. Yeah. He was ultimately executed in Florida. Outside of his execution, I remember the live shot. I still remember this. There was people cheering. I mean, there was celebration, okay? And whatever your feelings are on the death penalty, it was a big moment that happened back in the day. And one of the things that was constantly an irritant for everyone involved is that he committed all these crimes, but he had this personality that he used to commit some of these crimes.
Yeah. Right.
And in any of these interviews, he was always projecting this that did have a reaction with a lot of women that would send letters.
They said he was charming.
Yeah, exactly. There are inmates that are on death row that end up finding people via letters and end up getting married.
Well, think about someone like a Charles Manson, who people are obsessed with to the point where they followed what he was saying. He had a cult following, which is the reason why he is locked up. He never committed any of those crimes, but the people under him did. People, it's a psychosis thing, right? They get locked in, infatuated with someone who maybe is capable of doing something that they never would or could find in themselves to do, which is a good thing that you couldn't find that. I think they see maybe, and we have to do with that, with the problem of saying his name even once is enough, and we maybe said it too many times, and we're just one news outlet. Think of all the news stations and the media and the headlines and the newspapers and the magazines who have given this person some sort of fame. And you know this next generation is all about that following and that fame and this infatuation with numbers and liking. And to attach themselves to a person like this all of a sudden gives them some sort of
clout.
I wouldn't infamy, right?
Right. And there's some call for desperation there on the people that are writing in trying to make some sort of connection. And, you know, through other inmates where this has happened, some will come around after some correspondence, and it was basically, for some of these, not all, it was their way of communicating with someone that was captive, that would give them attention because they're the only ones trying to communicate with them. So they were basically having a relationship with somebody that they knew would communicate with them, that would tell them the things that they wanted to hear. And they realized that over time with heavy counseling and so on, that really their attraction to that person, their communication was really just a severe issue in their own self-esteem and them trying to reach out for some relationship of any kind. And why not try this person that is held in jail. They're never going to cheat on you. They probably will write you back because they have time on their hands.
Right.
So
and they're
there's a
looking
lot
for
going
that
on there.
attention too. I mean, why is it that this gunman did what he did in the first place? So they're still trying to figure out the cause of the 17 deaths from the students and the staff members who he killed on Valentine's Day this year, not long ago. It's still hard to digest, but there was this idea that was he bullied and bullies caused him to do this? There's other ideas of him maybe because he was adopted and his parents were both dead, the fact that he felt so alone, that needed that attention. It was basically cries for help when he was posting to YouTube channels saying, I'm going to be the next famous school shooter. I mean, those to me are calls for help. Not to say that he's not responsible, because absolutely, he's a 19-year-old man. He is an adult, knows exactly what he did, but there are those signs. And speaking of signs, and I want to get to this really quick, Jessica Downey says, I know we probably don't have the resources to do so, but someone should be checking up on the people sending
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Fan mail.
Yes.
Kind of like a sicko checklist.
Absolutely.
The cries for help. These are all
we
signs.
need to find those resources, because these are the next people that could do something, maybe not as bad as Parkland, but to themselves. Because if you don't have your own self-respect, your self-esteem at a place where you understand that you're worth more than that, we need to be checking on you.
Exhibit A is Charles Manson. I mean, to my knowledge, he didn't have any direct connection to a lot of these crimes and murders.
Of these crimes,
but he inspired others and motivated others to do so, which is a crime in and of itself. That's why he went to prison. And
like a Hitler, it's that sort of charisma that people are attracted to, whether it be positive
so they
or
got to
negative.
keep eyes on these people, because there's something off there, and you never realize when someone's in that spot willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? You just got to check up on them.
Jenny, go ahead.
Oh, no, people were talking about Felon Bay in here, and making a connection to the story that we did yesterday about how that man in Stockton, Jeremy Meeks, who was arrested, his face was put out onto the Stockton police page. He grew famous because of that one picture. And so people are saying that it's the fame that is what's drawing people in, like you said, Megan, but Jeremy Meeks' story is not the same as the Parkland shooter that we're not going to mention his name again. Jeremy Meeks did not kill anybody. Jeremy Meeks is now a happier man for everything he's been through in life.
But I still have a problem when we glorify that story.
Right.
Jeremy Meeks,
how hot he is. Look at his eyes, and to me, to the point of where I look at him, I don't see any sort of attraction.
I don't know about that. The man is.
No, I don't, because people are assuming this is the shell. I mean, I've seen people hotter than him before, and it's what's the big deal?
Right, and I too am conflicted when we cover that story, because he committed crimes. He was doing bad things. That's why he was in jail. And I think for that particular one, I believe he was not supposed to have a weapon on himself, but he was carrying a weapon because because of his gang connections back in the past and so on. I mean, even if you're not supposed to, he felt like he had to protect himself. But it's still, I mean, why is he famous and why is he making money? Because he looks good. I mean, is that all you really need? You know what I mean? And so that's just kind of the weird thing, is that this guy was given an opportunity to turn his life around because he was born a certain way with certain things that most people don't have. So he is taking advantage of that and making decisions off that. However, there's a past there, and so I'm conflicted by the whole thing. I like that this is moving in a positive direction. Things are going well for him.
Second chances, sure.
Yeah, exactly. But it is, at some point, it is just a surface level. People in advertising wanted to use his image to sell something, and there's a backstory there, so it's almost like a charity thing.
And
so,
like we follow up.
Exactly. Do they really care if his life is going okay or what's going on with his wife?
Probably not.
No, they didn't want to sell some product.
But it doesn't hurt that he's now having a baby with a Topshop heiress.
Right, yeah. The whole story is just weird.
Right.
You can view it a number of different ways.
So RG Good is asking why we're refusing to say the Parkland shooter's name and yet still do a story about him. It's because he is now in the news, but for a tangential story where young girls are throwing themselves at him via messages and sexually suggestive messages at that. And so we need to address how we're raising the young girls in our society so that they know that they're better. That is why we're covering this story, and that's why we're choosing not to say his name, because it's not about him. It's about these young girls
who are attracted to people like him.
Correct.
So Jenny really quick said, messed up generation that are not raised with blank and morals. I'm not sure what the blank or the misword is there. These women should be investigated. So I'm not raising young people right now, so I can't sit here and say that it's an easy job. I'm sure it's not. And for a lot of these women, and when I talk about the cries for help, maybe they don't come from very stable homes and they're not being raised.
We don't know.
We don't know?
Yeah, that could be the case, though. Or the other case is they're just physically attracted to this person they're seeing on television so much. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is you are raising young people, and it's pretty tough right now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, any generation, it's always tough. Because one day you're doing your own thing, the next day you're responsible for a young person, for everything.
But young people who are growing up in a generation where it is about, a lot of it is about numbers and fame and seeking attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you control that at a young age?
I don't know. I'll let you know how it goes.
Because kids are still really young.
Yeah, they're young. And, and I put photos of them out on social media all the time because I think it's fun. I find in my experience that it makes people happy. They want to see more. They want to see people grow up. They like these kids, so that's why I do it, because people are telling me, "Hey, what's up with your daughter? When is she? Oh my gosh, she's getting big." So it's more, you do the same thing with family, and it's in an odd way. Even though I have not met a lot of people on Twitter or Facebook face to face, I have a relationship with them. We talk about, hey, it might snow at your house. You might want to plow your driveway so you don't get stuck. It starts there, and then it ends up like, hey, when I was young, I went to that park in Stockton. I had a great time. It reminds me of my kids, and so you end up with you have a relationship there.
Yeah, with all of you right now who are chiming in, we appreciate it. We have relationships with all of you, and I will say, in my time in Mammoth, right, that's where I was the past couple of days, I had young girls there with us. So it was so interesting because they were using this app that I've never used before called Musical.ly.
Oh, I've heard of that. My little cousins are obsessed.
Okay, excuse me. I've heard of it. I've never used it. It slows down your movements and stuff, so it looks like a music video and speeds up and slows down. It's cool. It's cute. But the 9-year-old was sitting there just looking at herself and all of these different videos she's made where she's doing these hand gestures and where it's out of character because she's not like that in real life. Maybe this is her real life and this is all the facade, but she's at 9 years old. And I'm sitting there kind of uncomfortable watching her I can't even.
If you know the videos, you understand what she's doing.
And they do all these weird moves, and then she's like, "Oh my God, I got 11 likes. How many likes do you get when you?" I'm like, "I don't have that app. Why am I talking about likes with a little girl?" And she's like, because "How many followers do you have on Instagram?" Because she's not allowed to have an Instagram.
The psychology behind that is so interesting.
The psychology behind it.
Tell us more, Mason.
Is so interesting.
I'll let Rob talk.
No, we'll do another Facebook Live at some point.
I would love to be that psychologist doing the interview. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but if I was, I would love to do that interview. I'd love to talk to all these people. I mean, I won't say his name, but the shooter in Florida, the girls that are sending him stuff, really got to get inside their head and ask questions. You can't just speculate on stuff.
Exactly.
And it has to be open and public.
Yeah, because it's an entire generational thing. And so I found myself there, and my husband's teacher was like, "Stop asking her questions." I'm like, I'm trying to dig because I want to know why she cares so much about it. So I'm like, what do you and your friends do on your off time? When you're not in school, what do you guys do? And I get this whole education.
Soft interrogation.
And I'll tell you what I learned. And it's honestly not really that appropriate. No, it's not really that appropriate for television, what they're doing in the 6th grade. She's not in the 6th grade yet, but she told me she's in 4th grade, what 6th graders are doing in the bathroom. And I was appalled. And those conversations have now been taken to the adults in her life.
As they should be.
Because
but see, that's
this conversation is ongoing in the family now.
She has you to be that connection between her and what she loves doing and her parents who might not be as in tune with that.
Right.
But maybe those girls don't have those people. And so we need the infrastructure, hopefully in schools. If the girls are showing signs in schools that maybe they need some help. I don't know how old these girls are.
I don't know. But keep chiming in on this story, right?
Let's see. What is this?
Tell us how you're feeling. And if you're raising young girls, what do you see?
That's okay. Herbert's saying that this is what mass media does to people. Everyone wants their 15 minutes of fame, and he blames the media for giving it to them.
Right, and it's not just girls. Look how many kids jump off a roof into a pool because they want to get a bunch of clicks. I mean, just because they saw it on YouTube
Killing
or whatever.
Themselves.
Yeah, it's just awful.
What was it? The blue whale challenge.
What the heck is
like
that?
a suicide challenge where you have like 50, and don't quote me on how many, 50 challenges. It starts off with like, oh, get up in the middle of the night and try to drink a full glass of water. Again, making things up. So they would record them, these kids are recording themselves doing these challenges. If they make it to the last challenge, which is commit suicide, then you see this playing out on YouTube.
I'm done. Yeah. Monique Crawford says that she has 3 teens that she's raising as a widowed mom, and she randomly checks their phone. She says that is what parents should do. Who are their friends? Who are their friends' parents? You need to know these things. Oh, and speaking of, I will say this. Growing up, my mother and father were strict to a point. And they said, I need to know who, what, where, when, why. So before I left the house, before I went anywhere, a phone call needed to be made to the parents of those people. Addresses need to be written out, just so that you know exactly where your child is at all times. How do people not have that control over their child's life?
If maybe the parents aren't even available in terms of time, or maybe there's only one parent. We talked about this yesterday, like growing up in homes that aren't two-parent homes. It's tough, I'm sure, for those sort of questions to slip through the gaps.
And they're also young people, they're their own people. You have to pay attention to everything, but hopefully the way that you raise them, they respond to that. Because some kids, if you're hard on them, then they'll just be even harder with you, and then it gets to a point where they stop listening. They don't pay attention to you anymore. So you try and do different things, and it can spin out of hand. But I'll tell you, monitoring your friends. So I hung out with the people in my neighborhood. Okay. Whether it was the Mormon family down the street, and we were playing basketball at the Mormon church.
Yeah.
I'm not Mormon, but that's what we did.
Right.
And that was one night. Then the next night, I'm hanging out with my friend. He stole a BB gun, and we're shooting cans, in the Cucamonga Canyon.
Cucamonga Canyon.
Exactly. And I'm hiding a BB gun under my bed.
What?
Why was I friends with this guy and that guy? Well, they were in my neighborhood. So,
and you turned out luckily okay.
Exactly. And my parents' interaction with these guys, they were just his friends. I mean, I was good. I didn't get into trouble, but you just end up, your kids just end up hanging out with different people, and you don't really know what's going on there.
That's how, that's how it was in Southern California
internally,
for me too.
I realized at one point, wait a second. This guy's a little scary. He's like,
as you get older.
Exactly.
There you go.
He ended up spending time in jail later in life.
But why did you feel that way?
And the other one's got 4 kids, wonderful family. Always great to see him when I'm at home. And so it's like internally, the parents can monitor the kids, right? That's one thing, and you're going to play with this kid and not with this kid. Yeah. But the real trick in all this, and what I hope happens in life, because my kids are still young, is that the kids are making those choices for themselves. Like, wait a second, they're both fun, but I'm probably going to get in trouble with this kid, and I don't want to be in trouble, and I'd rather just stay out of trouble and be able to do what I want without getting grounded. So I'm going to slowly but surely gravitate towards these people versus these people, because internally I kind of knew something was up with some of my friends back in high school, but then years later you realize, you know what, that was a good choice.
In my opinion, it comes from a checks and balances systems that your parents put together. When your parents say no to you, like you cannot go out with this person, and they sit there and they explain to you their understanding behind why they made this decision, then the kid learns, okay, if I see this red flag and if I see this red flag, then it must mean that this is a bad person, and can make that decision later on down the road.
But you hope they make those connections. Sometimes
that's
you're like,
all fun. I mean, you were a great kid, it sounds like.
They had
because
rules.
I'll tell you, my aunt tried to do that with my cousin again and again and again and again. They just were a rebellious kind of kid and person. So the more you ask, the more I want to go do. And then the more she brings down, the more I'm going to do.
That doesn't mean
this is
you
why
give
I
up.
can't have children.
It doesn't mean you give up. You just try this angle, and always be there for them, because they will at some point make their own decisions, and some of them will be good and some of them will be bad. That's tough.
No matter.
I'll tell you.
She had 2 kids, one completely different, just by the rules, the other not. Both great human beings. They're just very different.
Right.
Same household.
Right.
Household.
Right.
Okay,
it's going to be great, you guys.